One of the biggest lies I believe when I started playing Call of Dragons was incredible simple. If we lost, it's because they were stronger. More wells, more tier 5 players, more spending, end of story. And honestly, that's a comforting way to think. Because if the enemy simply had stronger accounts, then there isn't much you can have done anyway. But after playing through more seasons, basically, I don't know how many seasons to be fair. I mean, I have played over 1,000 days. 1,000, 1.1k days. So yeah, after playing through more seasons, looking at more reports and watching kingdoms with completely different power levels fight each other, I slowly started noticing something that didn't make sense. Some of the strongest alliances I have ever seen were losing wars they probably should have won. At the same time, alliances that look weaker on paper keep finding a way to survive, push back, and sometimes even dominate. At first, I thought they had better leadership. Then I thought maybe they were simply more active. Eventually, I realized something much bigger. Maybe we're measuring the strength of kingdom completely wrong. And I'm going to share with you a personal story about a season where I expected to lose before the war started, only to watch a much stronger opponent struggle far more than you expected. And that was in the season 1. I mean, season 1 plus when we was fighting against BTX. The old players is going to remember this. The new players are not going to remember this, but there was having a Kraken there, I mean, huge Kraken, and a lot of strong accounts. But we managed by numbers to actually defeat them. On paper, we was very far away of winning that. Even they steal couple of our behemoths when in our downtime because they just can't do that. They was having so much power. But at the end of the day, we managed to beat them with numbers. So this is one of the stories where I actually understand that yes, accounts are powerful, but alone they cannot do absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard to rally 1 billion power person, but in the same time, this person alone cannot do anything. So the first thing most of us compare before a season even start is power. How many tier 5 players? I mean, this is more like a leadership thing. They have this spreadsheet. I don't know how they get this information. Maybe there is some kind of bot or something, but they know the enemy how many tier 5, how many over 100 million, how many over 60 million, how many over 20 million, 200 million, and stuff like this. I mean, they was having everything. How many wells, how many legendary krakens, how many decorations, brother, how many max decorations? Because to be fair, decorations become something like a huge measure how strong is one player. Here we're not no longer talking about do you have tier 5, do you have a hero awakened, or do you have artifacts like level 5. Right now things are pets and decorations, and mostly decorations, because somebody calculates that if you have max decoration, it's like you're having one tier above. It's like tier 6. But yeah, I don't have max decoration, so I cannot confirm it. But a lot of people are saying that. And how many decorations? It just makes sense, comparing how many tier 5 whales and all these things. Those are easy numbers to compare. The problem is that wars aren't won on the kingdom information screen. They're won by thousands of decisions made over several weeks. That's a completely different type of strange. I've been seeing alliance with incredible accounts completely waste their advantage because they fought at the wrong time. And I can give an example where I was in one alliance, and this alliance was the people inside was not that many, but most of us, almost everybody was active. accept half of the leadership. And we was having one war lead, and he was actually leading only when he have some time to spend. And the enemy was pushing, we was doing some defense and etc. But we never did a push because our war lead was not there. And when I asked why is just one, I mean there was like 30 officers. Okay, not 30, maybe 20, 25. But one war lead. But anyway, this back in the days. I've been seeing smaller alliance survive simply because they understood positioning better. And that was one of the main reasons I actually go in MFD back in the days. Obviously, MFD is no longer here, but there was small and very solid one. I've been seeing kingdoms throw away weeks of preparation because one important decision was delayed a few hours. None of those mistakes show up when you're comparing power. That's made me questioning something. If stronger accounts don't automatically win, what actually creates the advantage? I think the answer starts long before the first battle, before anybody capture a pass, before anybody enters in the final zone, before the first rally even begins. The war is already begin shaped by diplomacy, by migration, by alliance composition, by camp balance. Those decisions determine what kind of season you're about to play. Yet most players don't think about them because they're invisible. Nobody's when the diplomacy is made it, nobody's there, just like couple people. I have no idea what is happening. Only if I get some announcement, people telling me we're going to fight with somebody against somebody, but why we're going to do it? No explanation. Just what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. So this is invisible things at the end of the day. Everyone notice a whale on the battlefield. This is everybody see it. Everybody see a kraken. Everybody see a bastion. There is a visible and invisible things. Very few people notice the diplomacy decisions that prevent two alliances from fighting each other at first place. I'm going to give you a real example of a season where diplomacy or camp composition had a bigger impact that individual account as strange. And I can actually give you all the betrayal diplomacy. Every time an alliance do some kind of betrayal, obviously they're having some decent. The people are not betraying just like that. Sometimes it's just like that. Okay. Sometimes it's just like that. But the moment this type of policy diplomacy happen, it's making like from 3-3 to 4-2, from 2 against 2 to 3-1. I mean this kind of this kind of strange stuffs. So yeah, this is we have a lot of real examples of season where diplomacy composition had bigger impact than individual strange. Because if you get betrayed, you cannot do nothing, bro. You're facing against, if it's like 3 against 1, you're facing 3 times more hospitals. So if you have to fill enemy, how to say it, enemy hospital 3-1, which is crazy. And another realization hit me. We often talk about activity like it's just another statistic. I don't think it is. Activity multiplies everything else. A kingdom with average accounts but consistent activity can accomplish things that stronger kingdoms simply can't. Why? Because wars aren't decided by isolated fights. They're decided by hundreds of rallies, reinforcements, teleports, resource supporting, and players showing up when they're needed. One inactive tier 5 account contributes less than highly active players who's consistently reinforcing, scouting, and helping their alliance. Power creates potential. Activity converts that potential into results. They are two very different things. Then I start looking at positioning. Not map positioning, strategic positioning. Some alliances are always reacting. Others seems to dictate the pace of the season. That's not luck, it's preparation. If you're constantly responding to what the enemy is doing, you're already giving them control. But if you prepared territory, coordinated objectives, and anticipated the next move, suddenly stronger opponents start making uncomfortable decisions instead. That's completely changed how I look at the wars. The goal isn't simply to win more fights, sometimes the goal is forcing the enemy into worse decisions. And there is a crazy example in my head back in the days, and that was season 1. I don't know how we managed to sneak out and capture the dragon back in the days. The map was completely different, it was not like this. But we managed to capture the dragon. And here is the thing. There was a 2 choke points from here, and we was facing an enemy with tier 5 inside. We was like tier 3 and tier 4 people. Somehow we managed to do the dragon on normal. We never did it on elite, by the way. And it was like 2 weeks trying to hold this dragon. But we was having crazy advantage, crazy positioning, because these 2 huge alliances was fighting each other. And that was a moment when we captured the dragon, and that was 2 strong alliances. And at the end of the fight, they like, okay, let's unite and get the dragon, okay? And they unite together, and they turn their eyes to us. And that was a moment where that was one of the moments when I was officer in Call of Dragons. But it was like 2 weeks crazy non-stop surviving stuffs. So positioning, we prepared the positioning. So whatever was the outcome there between their fights, either one of them win. And normally when the 2 alliances in season 1 fight, there is a power transfer to the next one. But I don't want to go that much in details. Just the positioning we was having with landscapes, with towers, help us to actually keep the dragon for us. Eventually, I realized that individual strength and alliance strength aren't the same thing. A power account make you dangerous, our coordinated alliance make everybody dangerous. That's why some kingdoms feels unstoppable even when they don't have the biggest spenders. Every player is increasing the value of everyone around them. The opposite happens too. I've been seeing incredible accounts trapped inside alliances that couldn't coordinate objectives, couldn't communicate effectively, or simply couldn't stay active enough. Those players weren't weak, they just couldn't convert their strength into victories. And this is this type of players who, you're going to see some alliances are fighting, and you see there is a players with like 40-50 million merits, and the average for the alliance is like 10 million, and you start questioning what this person is doing there. But yeah, with immigration, things change over time, but still, looking back, I think that's why so many players become frustrated after losing a season. They compare power, they compare Q points, they compare spending. Those things matter, but they don't explain the whole story. The more seasons I play, the more I believe wars are decided by system rather than individuals. Good diplomacy creates better positioning. Good positioning creates better fights. Better fights perceive activity. High activity creates momentum. Momentum creates pressure. That's why this is one of the things. When I was officer, I was really on, and that was every day we should do something. Every day we should do something. And I remember we were sitting on the Hydra for for like 3 weeks we were sitting and trying to kill the Hydra on Elite. Back in the days, there was no stacks or stuff like this, and it was absolutely, how to say, I mean, we was very active, very active. And suddenly a kingdom that looked weaker at the beginning of the season becomes stronger where it actually matter. Not because their accounts changed, because their decisions compounded. So the next time you're losing a season, before saying the enemy was simply stronger, maybe ask a different question. Did they really have better accounts? Or did they build a better system for those accounts to succeed? Because I honestly think that's where the biggest difference between average kingdom and the great kingdom really starts. Anyway guys, that is for this video. Huge thank you to all channel members for supporting the channel. If you do like to support the channel as well, you can check out the join button below. Members get early access to videos, exclusive content, member shoutouts, and Warwords member can reach me out directly for strategy and account advices. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.